The same administration that celebrated a reset in relations with Russia now finds itself at a low point with Moscow tonight. Today, President Obama vowed to defend NATO partners against threats to their freedom and made his most pointed comments yet about the price Russia is paying for its incursion into Ukraine. Chief Washington correspondent James Rosen has the latest tonight from the State Department.
Outside the U.S. Diplomacy Center, a new museum heralding the work of American diplomats, Secretary of State John Kerry broke ground with 5 predecessors, including 2, Henry Kissinger and James Baker, who date back to the Cold War. That experience surely applies today, with Vladimir Putin orchestrating what many call an invasion of eastern Ukraine. Arriving in Mongolia, the Russian president outlined a 7-point plan to end the Ukrainian conflict that he said he had written on the plane ride over, and whose first 2 points he spelled out.
To end the active offensive operations by the armed forces and armed units of the militia in Ukraine's southeast. Secondly, to pull back the armed units of the government of Ukraine to a region that excludes the shelling of populated areas.
While the government in Kiev had earlier touted the deal,
we had a long talk with President Putin on the phone at 5 this morning. There's only one aim. How can we be against peace?
Pro-Russian rebels quickly disowned the agreement, and even the Kremlin said it lacks authority to sign it, assuring the Baltics and other former Soviet states that a robust NATO presence means they will never again lose their independence. President Obama in Estonia said U.S. and European sanctions are imposing a major price on Putin and his people.
The Russian economy has slipped into recession. Its energy production, which is the engine of the Russian economy, is expected to drop. Its credit rating is near junk status. The ruble just fell to an all-time low. In short, Russia's actions in Ukraine are weakening Russia.
Changing Putin's calculus has been the American objective since Russia annexed Crimea back in March. But marginal escalations in sanctions, while a drag on the Russian economy, have thus far not produced a course correction by the Kremlin. And some analysts fault the president, who famously sought to reset relations with Russia 6 years ago for not providing stronger leadership.
If you look at the limited response in general coming from the U.S. to crisis after crisis, the kinds of sanctions we've had to date don't really matter to Russia, and particularly to a Russian nationalist.
In short, the conditions necessary for the U.S.-Russian relationship to improve are presently not present and are only likely to worsen as the U.S. scrambles behind the scenes of the NATO summit to rally wary European nations to impose still more sanctions. Bret?
James Rosen of the State Department. James, thank you.